This was definitely a very enjoyable episode of No Guns Life. Last week we got teased. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get some extended on extended combat action, and then they're like, nah, you just had a big action sequence. We're gonna make you wait a little bit. So this episode definitely delivered on the action front end, both the humor and a new formula I didn't know I wanted, but we definitely got a buddy cop formula in a very interesting way that I didn't see coming. I mean, Juzo in this, I almost want to call him a mad scientist, as he almost has a look, but he's clearly a cop, so he's like both badass, but he also has that slight mad scientist look going for him. And just this episode, it really felt like a classic buddy cop in the best possible sense. I mean, they literally don't get along, but it's like the reluctant partnership because Juzo's ride kind of ditched him, so he had to tag along with him, and just that banter between getting the antique car scratched up or just attacking one another for the honor of the capture, it's like, that was amazing. The series can really blend a lot of different styles into one, and because of the whole extended angle, you can really do some interesting things. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was fun, and based on the cliffhanger of this week's episode of the little girl who, not surprisingly, was actually the one we were hunting all along, which you saw that coming a mile away, but it was still fun because I wasn't expecting the whole Dr. Octopus angle to come out and just, this man who everyone's basically chanting army, who is kind of a boss, badass, and you can definitely see the difference between someone with a more humanoid head versus one with a gun. You get treated basically night and day. If you have a gun on your head, people run in fear. If you have a humanoid head, people are going to chant your name and think you're a badass. And yeah, I don't think the man's going to die next week, but it'll be interesting to see if they're going to blue balls us here. Either they're going to give us a cool action set piece, or they're going to make us wait a little bit because we got some action in this week's episode. It keeps the viewer wanting more, so it's not a bad thing. It's just, you always crave a little bit more, because the action in this series is really, really cool. And last week, I believe, is when I mentioned how if Juzo went up against this guy who has these like little needles that if you hit them in the right nerve centers, basically they go out. I was like, man, he's not even going to stand a chance. Apparently he does. Not only did the needles not even affect him that much when he did get hit in his nervous system, when he was basically fighting him one-on-one, up to the point that he had to back off because he ran out of his little pins and needles, the man can just like deflect, and just, when he does, he just pops them right out. Like, that's like so badass. It's so classic 90s, and that's why it's so fun. Like, the rough aesthetic to this show really aids into that really kind of like rough animation, and you're just like, yeah, it's so gritty, it's so violent, it's No Guns Life, and that's what we want to see. Like, this was a really fun episode. Like, that's honestly the best word to describe it. Pure, unfiltered fun. Kicks off, and basically we got a new girl just cracking open a can being like, man, this stinks, and I have to deal with all you bastards. It's like, what is this show? It's No Guns Life, and that's why we love it. And it is interesting to see the use of photographs in this episode, where you start off, you're seeing a camera roll of, Juzo's friends, they're all fine, they're all safe. Obviously, she knows something's up with one kid, being like, yeah, he's got a lot of scars here, and they're looking for a kid. You better not be lying to me, or I'm gonna smack some sense into you, and we're both gonna get screwed around. And then focusing in on her father, or just finding the picture at the mansion. There was a lot of photographs in this episode, and it was kind of like leading to one ultimate end goal. This guy that everyone's chanting army at, and how really, it's like, where are they going with this story right now? Like, I don't even know what the true end goal of this first season is going to be, and that's actually one of the more fun aspects that this series has going for it. Because really, at the end of the day, I come into an episode of No Guns Life wanting one thing: make Juzo entertain me, whether that be with his one-liners, whether it be with his serious and badass action, or pull something more dramatic. Like, that's the main thing that I walk into an episode of No Guns Life, and anything extra that they give me, whether it be another side character, a theme, a new joke that I wasn't expecting, that's just like added bonuses for me. And I really do appreciate that they're kind of giving this bigger story, and we're trying to hunt down this man. And even though we have all these different characters more or less going for the same end goal, there's going to be different ways to get there. But even though this did have a more serious angle, especially when they're highlighting more on the whole, like, probably father's not around anymore, she's pretty depressed, and there's a lot of things going on that they have to try to play by the law, but as clearly seen with Juzo, sometimes the law isn't going to be the right angle to go down, because he's just going to be discriminated against because he has a giant gun for his head and he doesn't look more like a human, right? But when we did get into the more like comedic angles, because like they did transition, I was like, man, are we really going to fight this guy already? Like, Jesus is going to get his ass wiped, and then he holds his own, and he ultimately has to back off because once he no longer has his signature weapon, he can't fight and extend it. But the transition from that to like, they're clearly hostile, they don't want to work together, but Juzo needs a ride, they transition to a buddy cop. cop, and I don't want it to end. Like, I know it's probably going to, and I'm sure we're not going to tag along with this guy for too much longer, and maybe he'll only pop back up every couple of episodes. But if they surprise me and give me more buddy cop formulas, that's perfectly acceptable. There's a couple of ways to make the buddy cop formula work. I can think of like Copcraft from the previous anime season. It was reluctant at first, but then they had really natural progression. But you can have buddy cops where they don't get along for the entire story, and that's really fun. You know, the hothead and the more cool, calm, and collected. You can do so many funny and just really badass stories with that dynamic, and whether we only get another episode of this or it's done as of right now, I'm excited for more, because this was a character who I was frightened of with last week's episode, being like, God damn, if he has to fight Juzo, I don't know if Juzo can win, as seen by his one-shot KO, and now it's like, if they do fight again, it's gonna be cool, but clearly it'll be not as one-sided as I thought. But if they actually work more in a partner dynamic in the future, like, that's gonna be amazing. Like, this is probably one of my favorite partnerships that we've seen so far in No Guns Life. Like, there's been a lot of really fun cast, kind of mix and matches and things like that, but this man who, it reminds me of a mad scientist with a badass cop persona, like, this dude's awesome. He really is. He both is a cool fighter, he's hot-headed, he's got his little quirks, like, don't get my antique car scratched up, and when you slam on the brakes, you're gonna blame the guy being like, did you scratch my car? And Jesus is gonna be like, I just hurt myself because of your dumbass driving. It's like, that is exactly what No Guns Life is. It can do so many wild things, and that's why it's such a fun series. Like, it's not doing anything as of right now that's blowing me away with its writing, right? It's good writing pretty much across the board. The characters all have pretty interesting personalities. The world actually is probably my favorite part of the writing in terms of how they're exploring the extendeds and wars and things like that. But yeah, I'm not going to write it off as being a masterpiece 10 out of 10 in the writing department, but it's damn fun, and it's living up to what I wanted for now 6 weeks in a row. This series is just so wild, and I'm going to be interested to see ultimately how long this series will run for, because I do believe that this is going to be a split course, so we will get 24 episodes total of this, but I'm curious like how long this story should run for, because I know the source material is ongoing if I'm not mistaken, but clearly they're going to be doing some things with the story. It's not just going to be some more simple little cases or little experiments gone wrong here or there. Like, they're leading up to something pretty interesting, and I do like how they keep hinting at it more and more with each passing week, and how more and more characters are getting tangled up in it. This episode was just incredibly expressive. It had a lot of really fun shots, both with the more humorous with the chibi, and just some of the more simplistic, like, you can just see a little expression change here or there and it gets a chuckle out of you. And just, of course, you got the one-liners and how many times Juzo has to light a cigarette as he's basically rubbing salt into the many wounds that people have after being like, oh, you ran away, let's light up a cigarette, you're gonna be my ride now. It's like, yes, that is No Guns Life, and I can't wait to see it more. Like, I'm really curious about the cliffhanger, because it could be very, very easy. Juzo runs in, the guy's gone, right? And it's like, okay, we didn't get the action set piece. Or they could dedicate like 5 minutes starting in episode 7 where we actually do get some brutal combat, because this man clearly is powerful. But then again, he may be all show, no actual substance. So maybe he could easily be killed or kidnapped without even putting up a fight. Or maybe he'll be a little more similar to Juzo, as he is his captain, apparently. And I don't know which direction they want to go. Like, I kind of want to see him hold his own and get some more interesting extended on extended combat, but it definitely gave me what I wanted, I'd say. You know, last week I was a little disappointed. I was like, man, I really want to see some more extended on extended. And though we didn't really get that this week, it was more of just like the badassery that we got from Juzo's side. And there was some cool set pieces with the action, and most likely, and most importantly, the comedy and the more little series that they're setting up in this episode. It's like, No Guns Life is just damn fun. Like, I know it's not like the biggest and most hottest show of the season, but it's definitely one that's going under radars, but I think it's going to explode over time. Maybe like when it gets another season in a few months or whatever, that's when people will be like, man, I can't believe we slept on this for so long, because it definitely has a unique flair, a unique style that of course not everyone's going to love, but if people like those older series, I think they're going to get a kick out of this one. I definitely know I am, and I'm not even the biggest fan of older anime with this kind of style, but they can do it right, and so far, I guess maybe it's just because our main character's got a gun for his head, I'm just like, I gotta keep watching this, and I'm glad I am, because I keep having a blast every single week, and I know I'm not alone with the people who have been keeping up with this. I think my favorite part about the entire sound direction so far is actually Juzo's voice actor. Like, there is such a trollish nature in just his mannerisms and how he delivers lines. Like, I never actually know if the actor is trying to make me think that Juzo is super serious or if he's just pulling someone's leg. And that's like one of the best parts of the show. And I think it's actually the main reason I've had as much fun as I have had with No Guns Life, because he will just say things, and because he doesn't show reactions because he's got a damn gun for his head, I can't tell, does he have a straight face or not? The only time I know when he's flustered is if he's a little more embarrassed because a female is doing something. So it's like he'll say these things and I'm like, is this a straight face? Is this a troll face? Like, what is this man doing? And the voice actor holds his character together because you can't see reactions from this guy, but his voice gives you just enough of an idea of what he's trying to deliver, and that's like one of the most fun things about this series. The music is great with this series, of course, and the voice actors across the board are doing a solid job, but you really had to cast Juzo correctly, and so far I think they are. Halfway through the first season here, and they are delivering with humor, some more serious, and just, I guess, a more trollish persona, and I'm really enjoying it, and I hope most people are, because I think this guy deserves major props for delivering such a perfect job at our talking gun lead. Like, it is so amazing, and I don't think many people would be able to deliver such a weird persona as well as a current actor is. But what did everyone think? What do you think of the kind of buddy cop formula, which I'm sure not many people are going to compare it to besides myself, but I definitely felt like it was more of a buddy cop episode, and I love buddy cops, so I really enjoyed it. But whatever you're feeling, let me know down in the comment section below, and if you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have any news. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.